As part of what I do as a professional, um, I do a lot of meeting facilitation, and I have been always praised by clients to be very well organized and very well in terms of facilitation, very good in terms of facilitation. So I decided to share some of my own best practices with you guys. And for that, let me start sharing my screen here and let's start this discussion, okay? And we hopefully will do some exercises. I hope we will make it on time, right? So you see my screen now, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm going to discuss here is with meetings, and again, I want to share my own practices. Let's let's start with, for this particular discussion, what is the topic of this discussion? I call it meeting facilitation. Let's call it meeting facilitation. So this is what this meeting is about. Meeting facilitation is the topic. This is how I start with in the very center. And this is called mind map. This type of application is called mind map. This particular one has a free plan and has a paid plan. But there are so many other mind map types applications. They are called mind map. And if you search for mind maps, there are many applications, and many of them, plenty of them will be free. So you can find some application that works for you. I am using mind map, this one, mind map it's called, but just for the reason that it was the first one that I came across. I could just have easily keep searching. Maybe this is not the best one. I'm not suggesting you use this particular one. It's just some application that I'm using. So let's talk about meeting facilitation in general. I would say it consists of three parts that we need to discuss. One is, what do you do before the meeting? There are certain things you need to do before the meeting for the meeting to be successful. And then there are things you need to do during the meeting and to pay attention to during the meeting. And then there are things after the meeting, right? And you see, while I am going with this train of thought, you see how convenient this mind map application is when I'm putting my thoughts in front of me. I could have presented you with a pre-existing mind map, and this is called mind map, yeah, with a pre-existing mind map because I have put it together already, but you perceive information much better when you see things created right in front of your eyes. So now it's kind of imprinted in your memory when I'm creating things right in front of you, as opposed to just showing just you like reading a book, right? So what are the things, let's now proceed with this one. What are the things I want to share about before the meeting? One is, let's call it, uh, do your homework, come prepared, right? And we will talk in a while, in a little bit, what I mean by that. But the second one is also, and this is bare minimum. You can do so much more, but it's not necessary. But this is the bare minimum that you definitely have to do in order for your meetings to be successful and effective. The second one is calendaring. Make sure it's on calendar. And it seems obvious, but I'm mentioning this because often it is the case. I actually had one such case just last week, I guess, or maybe 2 days ago, when there was a meeting scheduled with a person who asked me for this meeting, and I sent that person an invite. I did have it on my calendar, so as I sent an invite, I am sure she could have also had it on her calendar, but for some reason she didn't show up. maybe she didn't have it on her calendar, she did not accept the invite, or maybe she just does not pay attention to her calendar, but it's important to actually pay attention to your calendar, right? So for the first one, what I wanted to mention, what does it mean to do your homework, to come to a meeting prepared? One most important thing is, let's call it purpose. What I mean is you should always have a purpose, know a purpose to that meeting. And I'm not talking here a meeting where you are invited just as a participant. You may not know the purpose and you may just ignore the purpose. It may not be that important to you. But if you are someone organizing this meeting, if you are someone inviting people to this meeting, you should be aware of what is the purpose, why you are having this meeting. And maybe if, as an executive assistant, you are organizing this meeting with someone else, it is also important for you to understand what's the purpose. What do the organizers want to achieve with this meeting? And here, one important question to ask yourself is yourself, or maybe someone you're organizing this for, is why are we having this meeting? Why? Without having the answer to this question, it may just be a waste of time, actually. After the meeting, I often hear people say, hey, it was such a wonderful meeting. We had such a wonderful meeting with someone. I said, okay, so what did you want to achieve with that meeting? Did you actually achieve that thing that you wanted to achieve? I'm not sure, but we had such a wonderful time. Okay, so you may just have poured yourself a glass of wine, but this is not the type of meeting that I call professional meeting, right? Let's take a couple of, let's review some examples here, okay? It depends also on the meeting type, of course. The purpose can be different. But before we proceed with examples, maybe let me tell you the second thing I mean besides the purpose. Second most important thing here is deliverables / outcome. You should know what you expect this meeting to deliver even prior to the meeting. This happens before the meeting. When you go to a meeting, if it is you are the one organizing it, what is it you expect as a deliverable, as the outcome of this meeting, okay? So the purpose and deliverables are two most important things you do before the meeting. Let's review a couple of examples and let's discuss them together. Let's say it is a regular weekly status meeting with a team or a team member. Now you guys tell me two questions. What would be the purpose of this meeting, and what do you expect as deliverables or outcome of this meeting? Okay, anyone? What do you think the purpose of this will be if it is a regular weekly team meeting?
Purpose could be to discuss current work in your department, update, your boss as necessary, or update the departments who are coming together. For example, in my line of work, we would have weekly or every 2-week meetings to discuss what are called change orders. So if any contract needed to be changed, the deliverables and the outcome would be a tracking spreadsheet from my experience often.
Yeah. So what I don't like here, yeah, the idea, I agree with the idea. What I don't like is the word discuss. I always become kind of concerned when I hear this word discuss, because discussion is a process. It is not a result-oriented word, right? So let's try using some other words instead of discuss. Any other options? Maybe to keep the thoughts starting, and then with other examples, I believe you will take it from there. What I am defining as a purpose when I'm meeting with my team, I would say make sure we are on track. That is one. How does that sound for a purpose, right? It's not just discussion is something we need to do, right? But it's not the purpose of the meeting. The purpose is to make sure we are on track. Discussion is the means to that, but not the purpose, right? So that is one. To make sure there are no major risks. How does that sound for the purpose, right? And maybe like planning ahead, planning next week, right? Planning work. So I would say these things constitute purpose, right? Okay, so the deliverables, and here I agree, it can be some Excel spreadsheet, right? Or it can be some other tools, or digital or paper means, right? But something that you can see, something you can show and you can see, right? Let's take a second example. You have a networking introductory meeting, intro, networking type of meeting. For example, Stuart will meet with Kevin because you guys have something in common. You may want to decide to meet, right? In this case, if you guys meet, what would be the purpose of this meeting? Not to discuss, right? Not to talk. That is a means to the purpose. But what would be the purpose?
Become better at our respective jobs.
Sounds good, but let's add here by, and what exactly will help you to become, how exactly this meeting will help you become better?
It's a good question. Sharing, I'm going to just throw out sharing information, knowledge is power. So sharing knowledge, maybe sharing tips more specifically, maybe sharing tools that we both use that are similar and applicable in both cases.
And so on. Yeah. So we don't need to define everything perfectly right now, but you get the idea, right? So this is what you think about for the purpose of the meeting. And whenever you are planning a meeting with someone, do your homework. Think about, do your homework. Think about what is the purpose of this meeting. It's totally fine to be selfish here. It's just think about both of you. It should be beneficial for both of you normally, right? But the other person is not a kid also. If they are coming, they should do the same homework as you and see what is it they want to achieve, right? And then also the outcome or deliverable. And you can think about it, okay? Let's take another example, and let's say it is a project kickstart. Let's say you have been discussing a certain project with your team for a while or with stakeholders, and now the decision has been made and you are meeting to actually give the project a kickstart. What would be the purpose? Is
to review the budget. One of the things, Natalie, review the budget, review the project plan with all of the stakeholders. Make sure the assignments for the project are well understood.
Yeah, this is better. So let's say, again, let's distinguish between things that need to be done in order to achieve this purpose and the actual purpose. Make sure sounds like a good thing, actually. So let me put here, make sure, and you can continue, like you just said, make sure we are all on the same page, make sure this constitutes a purpose. But to review something is things you need to do, right? Activities needed to be done in order to achieve the purpose. So these are like the activities, but the purpose itself, it's better defined to make sure, because it already has some certain deliverable enclosed in this purpose. In this case, deliverable will be what? What do you think?
Natalie, I think that before you even get to that point, if you're meeting with um, investors, if you're meeting with other people to kickstart the project, the um, it, this is presuming that you already have a good idea of what the project is going to be, and you have to present that to whoever you're meeting with. They have to understand what it is that you're kickstarting. So, I mean, we haven't really touched on that, talking about what you need to achieve the purpose and to review the budget and all that. But there has to be a presentation at this meeting, I would think, to the stakeholders to say, this is the plan. This is what we want to, this is what we want to develop, and this is what we want to get your buy-in on.
So based on what Stuart is saying, would one of the deliverables be either a completed budget or a budget outline, or who's going to do the budget? Natalie, you're muted.
Strange. I consider deliverables always who, what, and when, right? Which, let's say otherwise, in other words, what's next? What's next is definitely one of the deliverables. We don't always know for the rest of the 10 years ahead what needs to be done, but at least what's next. We just discussed with Barbara before the meeting started. You should always know, and this is a very important notion within agile approach, like think agile. With agile, you don't necessarily know all the steps in advance, but you always know what's the next step. After this next step, you may pivot. You may need to pivot. That's fine, but you definitely need to know what's next. If it is a project kickstart, at least you know, okay, so do we guys have an understanding? Not really. Okay, so why don't these two people meet separately and you come to an understanding? So the next step here would be for this person A and person B to meet separately, and then you guys come back to us and we do something again. Okay. I had other examples, but probably let's go on with the rest of the things because we will not be
We
able
have
to.
25 minutes left.
Yeah, not so many minutes left. With calendars, two things I wanted just to mention. Two things here is, yeah, so with the deliverables, know at least the minimum stuff, at least the minimum stuff you need to achieve during the meeting. And the minimum is always this. This is, let me mark this in another color. Let's pick, Kevin, you have been the most active. Which color do you?
Green.
Green,
Oh,
okay.
why
Yeah,
not?
so at least the minimum stuff here is what's next, right? It's good if you have more deliverables than this one, more outcomes, but at least you need to know, okay, what's next? Who is doing what? Who is doing what? Let me move it here. You see another feature with mind maps, you can easily move stuff, right? It's really convenient, okay? So speaking of the calendar, it is important to have it on your own calendar, but also on others people's calendars. And for that, you may need to send some reminders before the meeting, because you really, if all these people are invited, it means that they need to be on this meeting, right? So make sure you send the reminders before the meeting. Okay, so these are like come prepared, and coming prepared means, again, let me use colors here, green. Understanding the purpose, and the purpose is defined as mostly like make sure is a good statement of purpose, like make sure, and start your sentence with making sure. It's a good statement for purpose. And then deliverables slash outcome is another one where we know that at least you need to know what's next. And for that, let me copy this piece and put it here as well. So purpose is important and deliverables is important. Let me mark it in green again. Purpose, make sure. Deliverables, what's next? At least this is the minimum. Okay, let's close this before the meeting. Let's see how easily it closes with mind maps, and let's start putting the most important things during the meeting. And I have a couple of things here, but most importantly, and this is the most important topic of this meeting today, is my advice here: always be on the same page. Literally. This is why I'm so enthusiastic about screen sharing on Zoom. Let's imagine, let me stop my share for a while. If all these things that I am discussing with you right now, if I would not be sharing my screen, but I would just be talking, do you think the strength of perception would be as same as when you also see it while I'm talking?
No way.
Not even close, not even close, right? This
Yeah.
is why in Zoom meetings, I'm sharing my screen always, and I'm either using mind maps. You see how many conveniences we have with mind maps, moving things quickly, or it can be just Word document. It can be whatever, but you have to make notes as you speak. If you are meeting face to face, I love whiteboards. Whiteboard is a great thing, except you cannot copy and paste something. You cannot move things from one place to another with whiteboards, but you can use like papers or something. But visuals, visuals, visuals. Visuals is what ensure that two sides of your memory are at work, both the, how do you call it? Hearing memory, right? And vision memory. Okay. Let me get back to screen sharing. Screen 2, this one. So always be on the same page literally, which means share screen if we're meeting remotely, right? What else did I want to say here? Take notes, yeah. Take notes as we speak is a big part of it. This is what I'm doing. You see me doing exactly this right now. And this is where I wanted us to do some exercises. And let's get back to this part, but let me first quickly go through the rest of the stuff, and then we will get back to exercises. During the meeting, always be on the same page is one important advice, like critically important. Let me use some certain color for this. With a show of thumbs, with a rule of thumbs, can you guys show me who agrees that being on the same page literally is extremely important? Okay, so Stuart, how about you?
Where do I click on to do that? I don't see.
You can just use your finger in front of your camera. That works. That works
And
fine.
it's reactions down at the bottom on the right.
Yeah. So, Jonathan, which color would you pick to mark this item as one of the most important, like the most important one? It's your pick.
Most important, I usually use bright yellow
Bright yellow. Okay.
as a background color. Yeah.
So always be on the same page, literally. This is my number one advice. Number one, definitely, for sure. During the meeting, another important tip is, we already discussed it, decide on next steps. even when you are thinking about this meeting, if you are really someone who wants to be in charge, not formally, but in reality, if you want to be in control, so to say, of the outcomes, you have to think about the possible next steps even before the meeting. Then you will be able to steer a little bit better because you already envision in your head what you expect the next steps to be, right? And this will be just to confirm collectively your assumption. You have already an assumption what the next step is going to be, and during the meeting you just confirm your assumption. Okay, so next steps, and what we mean by next steps is mainly like who, what, and by when. That's for sure. If there is no who, no what, and no when, then it was just a time, like a social time well spent with a glass of wine. And then another part is engage people. Try to engage as many people as you can. Usually open-ended questions like who has any questions? Usually it does not work so well unless you're in a very good environment where people feel very safe. If it is not the case, try asking people by name. You have to be delicate with it, of course, but it is always better as opposed to just who wants to say anything. People will not want normally to say anything. And then after the meeting, a couple of things here. After the meeting, send out notes is something we all know. However, with this kind of technique that I'm doing right now, right here, it is so easy to send out the notes, right? And with Zoom, it is even better because you can record it as well, just as I'm doing right now. Sending out the notes is just a matter of uploading this video somewhere and sending the link to all the participants here. And everyone is a grown-up person. During the meeting, we discussed who is supposed to do what. And these who are all grown-up people, right? So they should be aware of their own action items.
Now, I'm sorry, I do have a question when we're talking about the who's. Is that something you would maybe color coordinate if it's a relatively small group, or just put their names in there?
So, Barbara, if you are working with grown-up people, with adults, right? I hate it when I have to say, so you, Barbara, remember you have to do this by then. And I hate it really. We are not kids in the kindergarten, right?
Right.
We are not in daycare. Everyone is a grown-up person. But if you do that in the form of like screen sharing, if we agree on some items, for example, we agree that one of the things we need to do after the meeting is send out the recording, right? For example, I'm recording this now. We will send out the recording, and obviously, I hope that Barbara Usack will be able to send the recording, right? For that, I need to upload this recording, of course, right? But this is something so obvious that that let me mention it here. I wanted to say, so plan your to-dos, right? Plan your to-dos, and one of my to-dos will be upload the recording. And for the other people, they have to plan theirs, as long as we discussed during the meeting who is about to do what, right? And the last thing here is, after the meeting, it's always good to take a step back and see the higher level picture and think, are you now closer to your OKRs? And can I ask you guys, is there anyone who knows what OKR stands for? Jonathan, maybe you? You're my last hope.
Sorry to let you down, but I don't know that one.
Okay,
I
so
wrote it down yesterday. I
yeah,
can't
yeah,
remember.
it is. I guys suggest that you all check it out, and I'm going to do another workshop on this topic in 2 weeks from now. It's objectives and key results. It is extremely popular methodology right now, and we should all know at least the term and what it stands for. You may like it, you may not necessarily like it, but you at least have to be aware of this methodology, okay? And we're going to talk about this in 2 weeks from now. So now let's get back. This is the whole picture. There are certain things to do after the meeting, certain things to do before the meeting, very important things like purpose, knowing the purpose, and knowing what you expect as an outcome, right? But now let's do some exercises here. And for my exercise, I would like now Barbara to take the screen. Barbara will be sharing the screen and taking notes, and we are going to discuss as an exercise here a topic of company research. Okay, let me stop sharing my screen. And Barbara, go ahead and take the screen, please.
Isn't the right screen?
Yes, this is the right one. Let's call, let's create a new one, and let's call it company research. Double click, company research. Let's say we are meeting here to share our, as Kevin, you mentioned, for you to meet with Stuart, you will be exchanging some knowledge as well, right? Let's exchange knowledge now on when you prepare for a job interview. You know that one thing you need to do is to do a company research so that you stand out as a job candidate much better. Let's discuss what are some of the things we do in order to go through this company research. And I know that Stuart knows a huge lot about this topic because Stuart wrote an article on Mr. Simon. You can find this article on Mr. Simon blog, how to do a company research. But let me start with Anne. Maybe let's give you a first pass. One or two things you can mention in order to prepare for an interview. What are some of the things you need to do for a company to know better the company you're applying with?
I am just saying community activities, perhaps.
And what you mean by community activities is a couple of examples.
Maybe they're involved with fundraising and, you know.
And Barbara, you can create a new node, a child node, because we're now explaining what community activities may involve, like fundraising, right? And other examples?
I guess their mission statement, which is important to know.
Mission statement. Okay. Anything else comes to mind? Or we may go to another person.
Their culture.
Culture, definitely, yes. Okay, so maybe let me now ask Kevin, when you prepare for a job interview with a company, and Barbara, you can just escape this and it will disappear. Escape on your keyboard. So Kevin, some of the things you do when you prepare for an interview, you research.
Okay, sure. I try to utilize LinkedIn by simply typing in the name of the company and see what comes up on LinkedIn. I also certainly go to the company's website and peruse like a madman, everything and anything that looks. I just recently read the 10K report for Daiichi Sankyo in Basking Ridge as an example of the research I did. I read their press releases.
Press releases is a good one, Barbara. Yeah, let's put press releases here.
I don't want to go on and on.
With press releases, let's get back to press releases. Let's create a child node after press releases. What can we learn? What can be that important information that we may learn out of press releases? Give me some examples.
What about news? Like anything that they're working on, a project or any,
Projects they're
Wow.
working on is a great thing here. Yeah, I totally agree. Great idea. Because if you are someone who will be involved in projects, it's so good for you to know what are the current projects they're working on. Amazing. Yeah, totally agree. Anything besides that we can learn from press releases? Like, yeah, you guys.
Oh, how about the current players? Who's active, like names, to get people's names?
Names of people, right? Yeah, names of
Okay.
people. Let's put it here. So, Jonathan, what's your input here? Either on press release or in general for company research.
Well, I think a lot of these things would fall under it. I would just want to kind of get an idea of what is the culture of the company, what are their priorities, not only as in terms of their
Priorities.
business, but their priorities in terms of you know, their community, their
Values, like
employees,
values, right?
Mhm.
values. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Another resource, separate from culture in terms of knowledge, is just a Google search and see how the company is in the news, and
Mhm.
find out what's going on.
Yeah, like, but what's going on? Any ideas, any examples, what you can learn potentially? Like, let's create, Barbara, a child node, some of the things we may learn.
So you could find out, like, if they're being sued or prosecuted, if they're in trouble for something.
If they're in trouble, yes.
Yeah, or if they're doing something good and noteworthy, either one. I mean, you can find the pluses and the minuses.
Right, yeah. So my 2 cents, guys, you may learn, obviously, it's so obvious that we don't even mention it here. They may be going through some layoffs, right?
Good point.
That
Yep.
is an information that is important to know, right? Or you may learn that they are currently going through like digital transformation. You may want to emphasize some certain skills here, right? Another thing you may want to learn, it's just from my own experience, you may want to learn something about their competitors, not so much about the company itself, but the competitor research, right?
Yeah, and their customer base. Who are
And
the
customer
Yeah.
base, yeah. Okay, so you see how we are collectively contributing and how mind map and screen sharing is very helpful in that respect. You see, that was my main point, right? To emphasize how a meeting can be very well facilitated with the means of screen sharing and using something like a mind map. Okay, we can take another example and someone else can share your screen. If you guys want, it may be like, Barbara, do you have any idea if someone else will share their screens, how easy it would be to just start using this mind map or something else? Any ideas?
With our help, it would be very easy. If you're doing it on your own, you can right click or learn the keyboard shortcuts, but we know the
No,
keyboard
not the shortcuts. I mean, right
No.
now, so that people can start sharing their screen and using a mind map. Do you need to register an account or something?
Oh,
What about
don't remember.
who would be the one to share your screen, guys? And let's do it together. I will give you suggestions how you can quickly start using it.
We have 5 minutes and then an additional 5 minutes.
Yeah, so 5 minutes, but in these 5 minutes, who would want to try it out?
If no one else, wants to.
Okay,
do it,
okay. So
yeah.
why don't you, Barbara, stop sharing your screen, and Kevin, grab the screen, open your browser.
Is that an app that you have to get?
It's an app, but it works in the cloud. You don't have to install anything.
Oh,
Yeah, and let's just, now that Kevin will be sharing his screen, let's see what's the process for starting to actually
Exactly.
working with it, yeah? Can you share your screen?
Are you not seeing it? Because I thought I have
No.
to select a window or an app that I want to share. Is it? Right here?
Yeah.
Windows usually.
So,
Yeah. So this
there you
is
go.
this is it. Open. Let's type here mind map.
MUP, right?
Yeah, mind
Mup.
map. One word. Let's click enter. And yeah, the first one. Let's open this.
What is this? Online privacy changed.
I don't
Keep-
know what this is.
I don't
Yeah.
either.
So let's open this mind map. Okay. And
Okay, so sign up.
create a free map. Let's start with this one. Create a free
That's
map.
right.
Yeah. Okay, so we're good to create it. The second example I was going to discuss is effective networking. Let's double click here and let's put effective networking. Let's do quickly this one as an example, effective networking.
Now you can just tab. There you go.
And what I mean by this, let's share some ideas for successful networking. Ideas, let's call this ideas. Okay. This is the question that I hear people asking once in a while. What can I do better to be a better networker? Because we know that most of the jobs we find come through networking, right? So let's share some experiences. What do you think, guys, you can people can do to be better at networking, right? And this time, let me ask Jonathan, maybe you go first. So any idea you can share with others how people can become better at networking?
And then Kevin, you can just enter twice to get to the next one.
Boy, better at
That's what I
networking.
call it.
Yeah.
It's such an
Oh, I think I
open
got it.
question. My brain doesn't really go there. Some of the things I do with networking are I spend time on LinkedIn.
Okay, let's start putting it down, Kevin.
Yeah.
You like use LinkedIn.
And then
Okay.
as a
Enter
subset
twice.
of that,
It will be a child node out of LinkedIn because
yeah,
Jonathan is still explaining out of LinkedIn, for
Out of
example.
LinkedIn.
Okay.
All right, so tab.
Use tab on your keyboard, Kevin.
Sorry.
Thank you.
so some of it is I'll respond to posts I find interesting.
Yeah, good idea.
Some is I will submit my own posts.
And that will be
Twice.
enter. Use enter.
Yeah.
Submit my own posts.
Yeah, and then on another one would be, contact people who've posted or replied.
Okay.
And so those are some of the things that I use LinkedIn for.
Okay. So let's stop for a moment here, and you can, Kevin, you can click escape on your keyboard to get out of this one.
Yeah.
Now, Kevin, I want you to engage someone else. Similarly, how I just engaged Jonathan, there are so many other ideas, right? So why don't you go ahead and please engage someone, but also do notes, right?
And Kevin, just click on ideas so that when you tab from there, you'll have there you go. That's where you want to be.
Oh, sure. I'm having trouble seeing the names, but I thought I heard Anna is in the.
Yes,
True.
yes.
Can we put you on the proverbial spot?
Okay, so I would start with comments that you can also make comments in LinkedIn. If you see like an interesting article, you may want to thank them, and you may just want to, put in a comment, but say, what you learned from it, or if there was a takeaway from it, you want to specify that in your comments.
Yep. So you can use LinkedIn and hit enter.
Okay. Enter.
Wait, no.
That's right.
Oh, I'm sorry. Click LinkedIn and tab.
LinkedIn and tap. There you go. Okay. Anna, could you just, you were saying again, because I.
Yes, you just want to make a comment on an article. Via LinkedIn, yes.
Got it. What else?
You click enter now. Yeah, and now you see this corresponds with what Jonathan also said. In my view, it corresponds with respond to post, right, Jonathan? This is basically the same thing. So why don't you, Kevin, now move this entry comment on articles? Just move and drop it onto respond to posts. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Good.
Nice.
Very nice.
Go ahead, Kevin. Engage Anna or someone else.
Okay. How about, do you want to share some additional ideas?
Yes, I would contact the person. If you see a contact of you that you may want to perhaps get know a little bit about them. You may want to just say hi and in a comment one of the contacts, and you may just want to.
Excuse me, is this on LinkedIn or elsewhere? Could I ask you?
You can say LinkedIn. I mean, there's a couple of contacts that you can perhaps maybe from a company or so, a company that you have been reviewing, one of your target companies, and you may want to contact an individual from that company and say that.
Sounds fine to me, right?
Okay, try engaging Stuart, Kevin.
Sure. Okay, Stuart, we're talking about various ideas to be more effective in networking. We'd like to hear what your ideas for effective networking, or have you thought of any additional ideas?
Outside of
Natalie,
LinkedIn,
it's the end.
I would say outside of LinkedIn, I would recommend joining or signing up with a couple of networking groups or organizations like PSGCNJ, so that you could meet new people.
Yeah, so now, Kevin, what I suggest is create a child node under this one, a child node by using tab on your keyboard, child node. And job search groups is one category. Job search groups is one category. But another category would be professional groups. Like Anna Marie, who is a marketing specialist, she is part of marketing professional groups. Jonathan and myself, we belong to Princeton Agile group because this is corresponds with our profession. Yeah, so it's two different types of networking groups, right, Stuart?
2 minutes to the end, Natalie, just so you know.
So guys, I think with this exercise, Kevin, you can stop sharing your screen. You get the idea. Yeah, you can play around. You will need.
Move it to the left. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but I saw that when it got big, how do you get it over to the left so that it doesn't run off?
You need to enlarge it by clicking on the plus, and then you will be able to.
Yeah, no, you can just drag it over.
Yeah, and
nothing is dragged. Oh, there.
Once it's enlarged, yeah.
Thank you.
There are many other things you can do with mind maps, but you need to figure out how, and you can contact Barbara for that, how to make sure you don't lose your created mind map already. Yeah. So can you stop sharing? Yeah. Now, just to summarize, I hope you saw something helpful for you guys today, and next time we are going to discuss OKRs, objectives and key results. I suggest whoever can make it, come prepared, because I will also be asking for your views, your opinions. So Jonathan, if you are coming, I suggest you maybe take a quick read, and I will be asking for some questions from you as well, because I know you are an expert in similar areas, business improvement, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and this is a topic where it may be an interesting discussion for us to have.
And real quickly, we normally suggest you save the chat. There's 2 of us that put our information in the chat. If anybody wants to, connect, you can add your information or make sure you save the chat. Please.
Yeah, save the chat, and as soon as recording is ready, it will be uploaded, and we will provide probably on the meetup.com in the event comments. That would be the best way. Okay, guys, see you soon. See you next time.
Take care.
Thank you very
Bye.
much.
Take care, everybody.